Hello, this is Scary Scars Shared, in which real project managers share what they have learned from their most challenging project management experiences with me, Ken Burrell from the PMO Professionals. If you're new here, you might want to subscribe to the podcast or the video channel. Don't forget to hit the bell to be notified of new releases. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Andy Smales. Andy, could you start please by giving us an introduction to your background and how you got into project management?
My relationship with project management goes back many years. Despite the boyish good looks, it goes back somewhere between 30 and 40 years. And actually, my first exposure to project management was when, as a student, I worked on a large construction site over the summer for 3 months or so, and found myself working very closely with the guy who was responsible for managing a large chunk of the construction project. And he taught me all of the basics of the mechanics of project management, looking at a plan and identifying dependencies and critical paths and all that kind of stuff, and resource planning. Also taught me some of the softer skills, if you like, although soft wasn't the word we would have used on the hairy-arsed construction site, but some of the things about how to motivate the team to hit important deadlines and how to negotiate with difficult suppliers and such like. My first formal introduction to project management came a few years after that, probably 5 or 6 years later. And then I joined a company called Logica. And so I took the opportunity to do some internal Logica project management courses. And they were confident enough to give me some projects to manage, starting with small projects and working up to bigger and better ones. Mm-hmm. My career took a number of different winding directions, but probably for the last 15, 20 years as a freelancer, I have specialized very much in project and program management. I still deliver projects and deliver programs, but increasingly showing other people how to do it, or advising organizations in how they can create the conditions in which project managers can thrive and deliver projects successfully.
So thinking back over that extensive project management career, could you give us an example of a scar? So something that went wrong on a project that you were managing and what you learned from it?
So I was on the bench, making myself useful around the office for a few weeks before starting the next project. And I got called into the boss's office at around about noon on the Friday. Unfortunately, Logica had to make a fairly small-scale round of redundancies. Mm-hmm. And one of the people affected by this was a guy I knew. But the upshot was that he was leaving with immediate effect.
Right.
So as I was talking to the boss, Mike was tidying his desk and getting ready to leave. Now, Mike had been running a small project. They were in the final stages of testing. Everybody was happy with the way it was going. And basically my task was to pick it up, and then I would write the closure report, raise the final invoice, and take the team out for lunch. The catch was, they said, just to show willing, we've actually set up a meeting for you with Pete, the client representative, in about 45 minutes' time. So if you just pop out and get on the tube, you should be there in time for that meeting. Mm-hmm. So I did. Met Mike on his way out, and I had a brief chat with him, and he confirmed that everything was fine and the project was on the verge of delivering. So I went in with visions that I'd shake a few hands and say a few hellos and a few reassuring words and head off for the afternoon. So I went in and I met Pete, the client representative, gave him my introductory pitch about how everything would just be left to run the way it had been. He said, "Well, I'm really, really disappointed to hear that." He said, "We've been unhappy with the way that the project's been running for some time now, and we've reported this to Logica and they've done nothing, and we were really hoping that the Mike leaving was actually Logica responding to this and listening to what we've been telling them is going wrong.
Right.
So what are you going to do about it?"
Wow.
So here's me having been totally incorrectly briefed with an unhappy client. The first thing I did was to say, I'll need an hour or so to spend with the team to get their perspective on what's happening. Mm-hmm. If in that hour you could maybe have a think about who other than yourself I need to be talking to on your side. If you could maybe arrange however many people it is I need to speak to, half an hour with each, back to back, and then make yourself the last person on that list. And hopefully by the end of the afternoon you and I can be sitting down and I'll be telling you at least what I've found and at least what the plan will be to put things right. So that's what we did. Spent some time with the team, got their perspective on what was happening, met what was probably an excessive number of representatives of the clients who all told me more or less the same story of dissatisfaction, multiple versions of that particular tale. Cut a long story short, it actually turned out not to be in that bad a condition. As with so many things about project management, it boiled down to a question of communication or lack thereof. They had indeed followed all the right processes, they'd created the right documentation along the way. They'd been a bit lax in terms of some of the sign-offs, but they'd done what they needed to do. They were in a testing phase, and at the end of every day, they'd spew out a number that said how many bugs were still outstanding, but there was not much further context other than that was given, and it was fairly minimal information. So I, with one of the project teams, said, well, look, why don't we create a couple of little presentations for them? One of which will be something that we might call a requirements traceability matrix, which will actually be a way of displaying which parts we already tested successfully, which parts are being tested but still have bugs, and which parts haven't we tested at all.
Yeah.
Nice, simple visual map of where we're at in that context. And then the second thing we'll do is a little dashboard, which will show on a daily basis number of bugs coming into the day, number of bugs fixed, number of new bugs raised, net progress on the bug fixing, and a little graph that will project when we'll have cleared it down to the point that we can go live. So let's knock that up now. Let's put in some live data with it and let's give that to the client. And that's what we did. So I talked him through what I found. I explained to him what had been done. I explained what I felt the problem was in terms of communication, showed him what we proposed to report, suggested a meeting every day at 5 o'clock for just 15 minutes where we'd present this information and discuss the implications of it. The net outcome of that was that the following 2 or 3 weeks, we put these things in place. The testing ran through to successful completion. Project finished. The client was happy. The meal was splendid and all was fine. But I would never want to relive those 6, 7, 8 hours on the Friday afternoon again.
No.
And I've taken strenuous steps to make sure that doesn't happen.
What did you learn from that experience?
The real lesson is about whatever the circumstances, however benign, always have a plan, the framework in mind of how you're going to go about things. I've come up with something that I call the FAST principle. Forget about honeymoon periods. You need to make a fast start. F is for facts. You need to gather the facts. You need to understand what's going on. Opinions are good, but you need facts. And you need to have a clear idea of what facts you need and what evidence you're looking for. A is for actions. As well as gathering the facts, at the same time, you've got to recognize you've got a live project going on here. There may well be bits of it that are working extremely well, and you want to make sure that they're properly supported and they continue to work extremely well. If there are bits that aren't working so well, you very quickly need to either correct them or take action to stop them or whatever. You're going to want to think about communicating with people. You're going to want to think about all the pay and rations stuff. You've still got a project team to lead. So yes, gather the facts, but at the same time, you need to be taking actions. The S is for stakeholders. It's about making sure that you engage with all of the necessary and relevant stakeholders. You don't just ask the team what's going on. You don't even just ask the sponsor what's going on and what his opinion of things is. You make sure that you're treating the project in its entirety, and you're engaging with all of the stakeholders as soon as possible. And then the T, another very important one, is about targets. As soon as possible in the process, you want to be setting a tangible target for what's going to be the first achievement that you're going to be able to report. The temptation is always to say, oh, I'll have a new plan in 4 weeks, so leave me alone till then and I'll come back with a bright, shiny new plan. The reality is, in a lot of cases where you're taking over particularly a troubled project, they've seen new plans before. So try and avoid that. Make it a tangible target. If there's a milestone coming up, underline, once you've had a chance to make sure it's safe to do so, underline that you're going to hit that next milestone. If it's something even more tangible, so much the better. You know, we're going to establish a pilot, or we're going to create a prototype of whatever. Something like that is great. If you are in a situation where the best you can realistically say is, we need to come up with a whole new plan here, make it a plan that involves all of the stakeholders. Don't go away with the team and come back with a plan. Make it an exercise where you're working with the stakeholders, you're working with the team, and you're jointly together committing to having that plan that everyone's happy with in whatever time it is that you set it. So setting that target, you're building credibility, you're building trust, you're seeing the team in action, so you're not just relying on opinions, you're now actually working towards something tangible. So that's my fast start, and that's all came from that germ of a day when I went in without having any real idea of what it was I was going to do.
Fantastic. Thanks, Andy, for sharing that with us. Having heard about Andy's experiences, what can you learn from it? What will you do differently in your projects as a result? If you enjoyed this interview, you might want to consider subscribing to the podcast or the video channel. Don't forget to hit the bell to be notified of new releases. If you'd like to receive free project management hints and tips, sign up to our semi-regular newsletter. The links are all in the episode notes. And if you'd like to share one of your scars, then get in touch. In the meantime, until the next time, thanks for listening.